ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to A Scott Talk, our theory show. A Scott Talk, I'm a TV presenter, a radio presenter, and a motivational speaker. Prior to winning the World Motivational Speaker competition, I owned and run my own gym and boxing club. Boxing is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I've followed some of the greatest boxers in history. Behind every successful champion boxer, they've got a champion coach. And tonight on the A Scott Talk, Afuri show, I'm I'm in. I've got an absolutely amazing guest tonight. I'm really excited to introduce you to the show, Mervyn, and he is a high performance coach. Welcome, Mervyn.
Thank you, Ace. Ace got talk. Happy to be here.
God bless you, my brother. Firstly, I just want to say I love your t-shirt. your t-shirt is
Awesome.
your t-shirt is
Awesome.
awesome,
Awesome.
you know,
Awesome.
and you yourself, my brother, are absolutely awesome. I'm really excited to be in the presence of such greatness. And I didn't do you justice in the introduction, explaining the significance on the role you play in people like myself's lives, because like I said, a good boxer,
Mm.
he's got that cornerman, that boxing coach, you know, that he can see the where the boxers has cracks, you know, where he's dropping his jab, where he's not moving his head enough, and that cornerman's there saying, you know, keep your hands up, you know, move your head more. And likewise, a good motivational speaker like myself, they also turn to people like yourself,
Mm.
coaches that help them take their profession and their skill and their gift to the next level.
Mm.
So just tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you do that.
Okay, so again, my name is Mervyn Barrett. I'm a peak performance coach. That's my most recent incarnation. I have what I tend to do is help my clients to stay in the zone. Everybody knows when they're performing at their peak. You know when you're in the zone. You either hit the ball perfectly. If you're playing the piano, you play that tune magnificently. If you're playing a stock market, you play it like a killer. Everybody knows when they're in the zone. But unfortunately, they also know when they're not in the zone. And what I help people to do is when they're in the zone, distill it, unpack it, pick it apart so that you can see what the constituent parts of you are when you're in the zone. And that means when you're in the zone, you can raise your performance. But guess what? When you're out of the zone, you also know how to get back in the zone. And what does that mean? That means consistency. And let me tell you, consistency wins out over time. I'll say that again because it's really important. Consistency wins out over time. And that, when you're performing at your peak, means you can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this consistently. That's basically what I help people to do.
Absolutely amazing, my brother. And I really thank you very much for that intro. But consistency is one of the components to
Yes.
achieving your overall success. But there must be a little bit more to it than that.
Yes. Um, so you also need to a couple of things I always do when I'm working with a client to help them to be as expansive as possible. I invite them to recognize how much they are in their way. So most people, that's a really difficult concept to get across because you are yourself. You don't know anything else. So if somebody says you're getting in your own way, you can kind of, push back. Oh, you mean I ain't getting my own way? It's your fault. But when I help somebody, I help them to recognize that they are getting in their own way. And when you see that and recognize that, well, if you're creating it, what does that mean? It means you can create something else. And that's the power of the type of coaching that I practice, which is personal development with the art of self discovery. Because
Abs-
there's an art form to discovering yourself.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And just unpacking that slightly, it's a very difficult thing to see what you can't see. How does one take a look at themselves and reflect so they can actually see that when they're getting in their way? How does one identify that?
Mm. Several um, invitations I give when I'm coaching somebody. One, you've got to be honest. with yourself, first of all. You know, it says somewhere in the Bible, for then you shall know the truth, and what? The truth shall set you free. And I also invite people to intimately connect and engage with themselves in the conversation. Um, another important aspect of that is to tackle what you see as opposed to attack. What most people do when they're talking about themselves, they don't realize it, they're attacking. You know, I'm just rubbish. But you could even say that, but have it like a revelation as opposed to a condemnation. So you could say the same words, I'm just rubbish, or oh, I'm just rubbish. And it's the same words, but now it's like you're questioning what you're doing instead of condemning what you're doing. So condemnation is something that we learn in childhood, and it has become, or we don't realize, but in childhood, that's a great strategy for keeping yourself small,
Mm,
for keeping yourself from getting into too much danger and too much harm.
definitely.
And our loving parents, love them to bits, as great as they are, sometimes when they overdo this, the need to protect their children, it's one of their strategies is to push you down, to get you to condemn yourself.
Yeah.
Then your wings are clipped.
Yeah.
But of course, you take it into adulthood without even realizing it. And so I help people to look at all of that, unpack it honestly, openly, objectively, connect with it. You know, most people, they think about something that would be incontemplatable. I couldn't contemplate that. Well, my thing is contemplate it. Have a look at it. See what it looks like. Do it in revelation. Tackle it as opposed to attacking it. And when you tackle, you give yourself an opportunity to free yourself. When you attack, you simply close down opportunity. It's like being in a room and let's be melodramatic. There's gas coming and you shut the door. Well, you're going to die. Whereas that's when you're condemning. But when you're revealing something of yourself, it's like you open the door, slightly open it. So it's just ajar. Once you get that little opening, then you can start to move on it.
I'm going to play God's advocate because most people that are getting their own way don't realize they're getting in their own way.
Correct.
So there's people that are possibly watching this show right now
Mm.
that don't even recognize in themselves that they have a problem within themselves.
Yep.
How do those people come to a place of identification?
Mm. The most important part of that equation is to actually recognize that you've got to have an awareness
Mm-hmm.
of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to say, well, I don't know how I'm doing it, but I don't know how I'm doing it and I don't care, or I don't know how I'm doing it, so it's not my fault. Although it's not about fault, but I don't know how I'm doing it can be an opening. What most people do is I don't know how I'm doing it, I don't care, or I don't know how I'm doing it, and it's nothing to do with me, or even I ain't doing it, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so,
The blame game.
yeah,
The blame game. I have a philosophy that no matter what goes on around you,
mm,
you should always take responsibility, even when it's not your fault.
mm,
Even in the most extreme and harshest and unfairest
mm,
scenarios that could possibly happen
yeah,
to you,
yeah.
still look at what could you have done differently. And by always taking responsibility, you're just constantly growing. There's always growth.
So I just I love that. By the way, it's just that we sometimes we attribute um, responsibility to blame. You know, so who's responsible? But what we really mean is who's to blame. So I take it to another level, if you like, of ownership. Own it. I own what I did, not as opposed to I'm responsible for what I did.
I do
That
get what,
subtle
yeah,
shift,
yeah,
because when you own something, it's yours. You can do what you want with it. But
definitely,
when you're taking the blame for it or responsibility for it, it's almost like it's some external thing that people are watching and you've got to be so careful about. But
definitely,
ownership is mine.
definitely. I think it's a
In my
slight,
sleep,
it,
in
it,
my waking hour, it's mine.
definitely. I think it's a slight difference in choice of words. This is why I moved from responsibility and not blame, because the
Yes.
blame game, once you get into the blame game, then you
Blame
never take responsibility for anything, because it was his fault, it was her fault, it was my
the
mum
cat,
and
it was the
dad's fault,
dog,
it was the cat, it was the dog, it was the man up the road, it was
my
everybody else but
boss.
yourself. So, you
Yeah.
know, responsibility, but you,
Blame, shame, and guilt
yeah,
tripping.
there you go.
Yeah.
So
Triple disasters.
I want to dig down a little bit into awareness,
Ooh.
right? Because we're kind of drifting into that
Mm.
category, because you mentioned about you have to first identify with yourself that there's there's something you want to change, or you
Mm.
something you want to improve.
Yeah.
And
And sorry, just one more thing, because you said, how does somebody come to that? Well, after a while, it is a repeated pattern, and you will see it in different areas of your life. So you can't
Brilliant.
well, you can if you want to stay and deny it all.
Mhm.
But if after a while you say, hang on a minute, it's happening over here, it's happening over there, and these are all different circumstances and different people, so it's all different. What's the common denominator? Moi. And so at that point, hopefully they're ready. They may not know how to do it, and it can be a really scary thing because of the dramatics that we love to play in our head. But once they get to that place, there's an opportunity. And I keep using that word opportunity. It's not guaranteed, but there's an opportunity to open something up, to get some revelation.
It's not guaranteed, no.
Nothing's guaranteed. What do you tell me something that's guaranteed apart from death? They even say taxes, but you see these people, they've got the offshore
Yeah, the
accounts.
offshore
Right?
accounts.
So,
Yeah.
what I know is
Yeah.
death is
Yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah. Interesting.
But
Brilliant,
awareness.
brilliant explanation, my brother.
Yeah.
So, self-awareness,
Mm.
and thank you, because I know you joined me on a live media lead. Shout out to everybody at MediaNet TV. Shout out to management. Shout out to the producers. Brother
Hey,
Mervyn,
MediaNet.
the brother Mervyn joined me on a live telephone link up earlier on during
Yeah.
the week, telephone video link up, and it was amazing. I got some absolutely fantastic feedback. And one of the things that had our listeners in stitches was when we engaged in a conversation about the brain not being your friend. So the brain is so hardwired
Yeah.
in repeated cycles of behavior and repeated patterns that we can get locked into those karmic cycles, because a lot of the processing goes on in the unconscious mind.
Mhm.
And how do we become more self-aware of those unconscious processes and those unconscious patterns of behavior, and break, as I like to say, those karmic cycles?
Mm. So, how do you become more aware? Well, it really, we're kind of generalizing here. I always find that it's much more effective when you have a specific topic or area
No
or
problem.
circumstance
I,
or thing to talk
I
about.
can give you that. So I can, no problem. Let's do it. So in our previous conversation, we referred to the brain not being your friend,
Mhm.
and we used the road rage analogy.
Oh yes,
You know,
yes, one of our
and so
favorites.
I'm sure for
Most
any of
men and a few women
yeah,
can
any of
relate.
our listeners that drive a vehicle in London, central London, can be heavily
Eee.
congested with traffic. And if you're out during was it school run, you know, there's a lot of people on the road that ain't very particularly good drivers. So people do find themselves getting quite frustrated
Yes.
in central London traffic,
Mm.
and sometimes they even file, find the overwhelming electrical impulse,
Mm.
these urges to get out of their vehicle, and
And start
sometimes
swinging fists
sometimes
and foot.
those electrical impulses and those urges even go as far as to want to hit somebody in the face
Yeah,
for their bad
yeah,
driving.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, you know, we've all had those moments of madness
Yeah.
or seen them on TV. And we had a good laugh and a joke in the week about it, because we talked about the brain not being your friend.
Mm.
Because if the brain was your friend would say, don't get angry,
Mm.
it's not worth it.
Mm.
Your friend would say, stay in the car and drive on. But you thought we're talking about repeated karmic patterns of behavior. So let's talk about the driver who seems to be constantly getting himself into road rage
Mm.
situations.
Mm.
and that's a repeated pattern of behavior. There's a trigger there that obviously someone's triggered in by either
Yeah.
bad driving or beeping of a horn or a friendly hand gesture. Peace.
Yeah. But the other way around, peace.
So, oh,
Peace off.
yeah, yeah. How would you say to that person that's constantly, getting out, getting into terms, and then ended up, maybe in the dock saying, "Oh, I don't know why I keep doing that."
Mm.
How do we start to tap into that repeated pattern of behavior? I'm
So the
drinking.
first thing,
Yeah.
again, it always, as you sort of already said, it always goes back to the individual.
Mhm.
They have to want to do something about it.
Mhm.
If they don't want to do anything about it, there's nothing you can do for them apart from the societal way, which is to imprison them, or the bigger driver than you gets out and beats you down. You'll stop doing it if every time you got out of your car, the driver got out of his car and you came at your fist and he came out with the bat and bust you in your head, you would stop doing it after a while. You would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that doesn't tend to happen.
Yeah.
So um, the first a couple of things to recognize. One, I heard this from a guy called, I think his name was Ted Dannett. He said, every time you think something, see something, hear something, your brain makes a copy. I was like, wow, every time. So it isn't like a photocopy copy, it's like a snow in the foot copy. So if you put your foot in some fresh snow like that, then you take your foot out, you're going to have your footprint there, yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you gently as you can, put your foot back in and put all your weight down, is the snow going to stay exactly the same, or is it going to displace slightly?
Displace.
It's going to displace. In other words, it's going to spread, it's going to deepen and go wider. That's the sort of copy your brain makes. So if you think I'm no good, that thought, when you have it again, is going to deepen and widen. So the groove starts making itself um, bigger. And so imagine now if you're walking up and down, let's say you're in a field. This is one of my favorite analogies about the brain and how these pathways
Mm-hmm.
are connected and
Mm-hmm.
why it appears to be so difficult to change a pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all it is. It's that, well, I can't help, picking my nose. It actually, if you could break it down, there's you said it about electrical
Electrical
impulses,
impulses.
some
Yep.
electrical impulses
Yep.
that are stimulating you
Yep. Yep.
to do that. It's a pathway,
That's right.
and it just means that what you've got is a super highway.
That's
So
right.
imagine you're fresh field of snow and you walk through it in one direction, and you carefully, gingerly walk backwards through it. There's no way that you're not going to displace the snow. It's going to displace, it's going to get wider and deeper, and if you keep doing that all day, soon you're going to have a pathway, and if you do it for long enough, you can make a real big pathway. Now imagine this. Let's say the snow is now waist high and you've been doing it all day, you're knackered, and I said to you, do it one more time, your house at the end, there's a nice warm bath waiting for you, and I'm going to give you a choice. This is how it works for the brain. Well, this is the way I see it works for the brain. I'm going to give you a choice, Ace. You can either go back along that pathway that you've been digging all day to get to your house, or you can choose to make a new one to get to your house. Which one would you do?
Go back down the one you've been digging.
Well, why would you go and make a new one?
Mm.
That's madness.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take me ages, hours. I'm tired. I'm sweaty. I'm cold. Dig a new pathway, man. Let me just keep going down the same old route. It's
Mm-hmm.
much, much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's much easier to do that. And your brain literally, when it comes to a new idea, it's like, oh, you mean a new idea? Why should I? All my electricity just flows nicely down this
Mm-hmm.
pathway that I've
Mm-hmm.
already created. It really works for me. And by the way, you get rewarded for what you do. There's a drug called dopamine.
Dopamine. Yep.
Right? Your brain produces that,
Yep.
and the chemical comes out, and part of it is like a goal-getting thing. So
Mm-hmm.
when you predict something and you start moving towards that reward, you get a hit of dopamine. It's actually a survival drug. It's telling you, do that because that will keep you alive. But we don't get that. We just get the good feeling from it. And fortunately and unfortunately, because it's the blessing and the curse, when you say something like, I'm no good, you've just made a prediction. And it's very easy to prove that. So you get almost instantaneous reward. And so that cycle, everything you say, everything you think, everything you feel, everything you see, you make a copy. When you say, I'm no good, of course, you don't just see it, you don't just say it, you also feel it. And so as you feel it, you create more of the same. And it's easier to go down that pathway.
And that whole analogy can be still applied to the road rage situation, because, like you said,
It's classic.
most people that jump out their motor, they don't get hit over the head with a baseball bat.
No.
They get all of the feelings and the associations with the release of the dopamine and then the reward,
Mm.
especially if after they've got out and they've maybe said a few friendly words back in
Choice
return.
words.
Yeah. They get, do you get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and then once again, if that pathway's been embedded, that repeated pattern of behavior becomes more and more and more and more
You get stronger reward. If you
frequent.
get out of your car and you go, do what, mate? And the guy gets back in his car and drives off, you get a bigger reward.
There you go. And that's, so it's all about the chemical
Yeah.
releases in the
Yeah.
brain. And I love studying the body on a
Mm.
biological level, because
Yeah.
when you start to understand, it's just impulses, it's
Mm.
just signals and chemicals reacting.
Yeah.
Like you referred to the brain, and the dopamine releases. It's just, and it's the same. We're just a mass of electrical impulses. So that was a beautiful analogy in regards to the snow,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that breakdown because it really simplifies it. I always refer to, when I'm talking about the same analogy and we talk about the subconscious, your hard wiring, because it is the way your brain is wired, so to speak, and we want to rewire the brain where it's badly wired, so to speak.
It's another one that really, because it appears to be hard wiring, but their brain's plastic, Ch- um, to change it is a choice. Now, most of us don't know how to make that choice because we don't realize it's a choice. We think we're hardwired. I can't help it is hardwired, but you can help it.
So how does one make the choice?
So it's very difficult, and let me put it like this. It's, and I'm going to use the word negative. I don't really. That's not what I really mean, but to have a negative thought or a positive thought, it's easy. I mean, like super easy to have a negative thought. It's, I say it's effortless to do that, but it's effortful, full of effort to make a positive thought. Let me give you the analogy. You're sitting on top of stairs, they're 100 meters in length, and you sit down on your bum and you push off. Right? A little bit of effort to get yourself going, but once you push off and you start sliding down the stairs, does it take any effort to
Go down.
Gravity will have you pick up speed as you go down. You can fly down those stairs. Now you're at the bottom of the stairs. Does it take any effort to slide? Can you slide back up the stairs? Is that possible? No. It actually, you have to be intentional. Even if it's the very first step, you may not be consciously aware of it anymore, but what you do and what you did was tell your brain to engage your leg and your knee and the balance and everything to take that first step.
Yeah,
And then you take another step.
definitely.
You have to be intentional to climb the stairs.
Definitely.
You can't slide up the stairs. And so it's easy, it's effortless to think of negative thoughts,
Definitely.
have a negative feeling,
Yeah.
think about negative consequences.
Definitely.
You have to be intentional. It's effortful
100%.
to go up the stairs.
I
You
mean,
can do it. It's not something that you can't do because we climb the stairs all the time, but it requires effort.
definitely.
And it's the same thing now. So somebody says to you, you say, "Oh, I can't help it. It's just the way I am." I always get into that. And somebody says to you, "Well, how about if you try to think in a different way?" And you go, "What do you mean think in a different way?" That's because it requires effort.
100%. 100%.
It's wearing. It requires effort.
It does, and it takes not only effort, but it's something that has to be done on a consistent basis.
Effort, time, and practice. ETP.
Effort, time, and practice. A book comes to mind, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma.
Yeah.
And in that book, I love model thinking, and I take analogies that just work for me. And in that book, they refer to the garden as the mind as a garden, and they talk about fertile mind,
cultivating,
fertile garden. And I know you said you don't really like to use the terms positive and negative thought, but when I use those two terminologies, I just call them either flowers or weeds. A positive thought is a flower in my garden. A negative thought is a weed in my garden. And as we know, what happens to weeds? They grow. So even a little weed in your garden can grow. And it's the same with thoughts. You know how it goes. You could think something badly of somebody. Like, boy, that Mervin, it's taking long to pay me that tenner, you know?
Uh-oh.
And then I let that thought start
Well,
resonating. And do you know what? The man's taking a liberty, you know? How much times I called him? He can't ever. That one little negative weed, that thought, you can let that start to build and
Seed.
build, and then with time I'm on the phone to you, and I'm saying exchanging very nice words with each other.
A very frank exchange.
Very frank exchange of nice words. So, and that was from a thought. So, and why I like the model of fertile mind, fertile gardens, because every time I have a negative thought, I look at it as a weed, and I say, I'm not going to allow that weed to grow. Only flowers can come into my garden.
Watch this. Watch this. If we were coaching, I'd invite you to have a look at that. When you say, I'm not going to, or I don't want, your brain doesn't get it. Most people don't recognize. They think, but you get a reward from it. You get an instantaneous reward. But here's a little thought experiment. I'm always on about thought experiments. Here's a thought experiment. Don't think, Ace, do not think of a pink elephant.
Oh, go away. You're so there already. You got me. Don't think.
Don't think about
what
it.
Pink? Yeah, straight away.
No,
First thing I
the
think, pink
first
elephant.
thing,
You got me.
You
Yeah.
have to put the image in your head.
Yeah.
So most people, and they think, you know, I mean, we're laughing.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard anybody say, I never want to be hurt like that again? At the same team. It's why am I always end up in these relationships?
Break it down. Pause. Rewind. Selector. Come back
I
again.
never want to be. They're
Why
in
is
a
it the same
relationship
thing? I never want to be hurt again. Why is it the same thing?
because let's say you're in a relationship and it went pear-shaped,
Uh-huh.
and you have a new relationship,
Yeah.
and your thought is, this is a new relationship, and I don't want to be hurt like I was in the last one. So what comes to mind? What happened in the last relationship? That's the image in your mind, like the pink elephant. So whether he or she cheated on you, stole your money, lied on you, whatever they did, that comes in your mind. So now that is in your mind with this new person. So you simply, anytime they speak, it's almost like you're looking for, if your radar's up, your brain is a goal getting machine.
The hard wiring.
Whatever you put in there, it just goes after it.
So how do you change that?
It's called an away from strategy. You use a towards strategy. So how do you not think of a pink elephant? Think of a green one. Think of a grey one. Think of a white one. Think about what you want. Go towards what you want.
So how do you, in that regards, I'm getting it. So I never want to be hurt again. So how do we change that? What would be the opposite of that then?
Very, very challenging. And so if I was working with a client, I'd get them to tease it out. But let's just some things that you could do. I wonder how this relationship's going to go. I'm hoping to have fun in this relationship. This guy looks great. Me and him are going to do it. You start moving towards what you want. When I first started coaching, I said to people, what do you want? I said, well, I don't want this and I don't want that in my life anymore. Everybody talks about what they don't want. Look, it's powerful.
Excuse me, but this is great. And this is real live TV.
Yeah.
We met outside.
Yes.
And I walked up to you, I said, Merv, you're the performance coach. Right. This is what I don't want. That's the first thing I heard. But this has to go. That has to go. I did it. So you're right. It's natural. We do it. I did it as well. Yeah. So what should I have done? How should I have, the things I don't want, how do we get them out of our life? How do we do that in a different way?
Okay. So how can so again, just to go back to the relationship. So how can I make this relationship work? All right. Your mind's got to start thinking about it. Let me give you another way of looking at it. When people talk about what they don't want. So imagine if you're when we're looking at, for example, problems. So you got a problem, And oh no, sorry, not a problem. We say things to ourselves like, "I'm so stupid," but here's how we try and solve it. Why am I so stupid? Now, when you say why to your brain doesn't get it. It's just going to answer your question. So it will say, well, here's why you're stupid. You remember when you were two, your mum said you got dropped in your head. That's one reason why you're stupid, because this happens in a split second, by the way. Yeah, remember when you were 10 and you put your hand up in the class and everyone laughed at you? That's why you're stupid. At 15, your girlfriend dumped you. That's why you're stupid. You're stupid. Your brain gives you an answer. If you pose it with a problem, it will give you an answer to the problem that reinforces the problem. You got to ask it for a solution. So it's easy to say, slide down the stairs, why am I so stupid? It's not so easy to say, what do I need to do to be clever? Can you see how many words I've had to use there? Why am I so stupid? Instant. What do I need to do to be clever? That's like now I'm in the snow and I've just said to myself, well, I've got this pathway that I've always gone down. I want to go back to my house down that pathway, and there's a new pathway. Why am I going to go down there? That's what do I need to do to be clever is here. Why am I so stupid is here. This one just feels better.
And it's less work.
There's no working. It's effortless.
Yeah.
You just slide down the stairs.
Yeah.
But to now have that, what do I need to do to be clever, more clever? What do I need to do? How can I be? What have I got to say to myself? That's taking the first step on the stairs. You've got to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It is effortful. It's full of effort.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
The art of self-discovery is not an easy thing. It's possibly because we are our own greatest enemy, but also our own greatest ally.
Mm.
And survival always comes, always, my God, survival always comes before um, growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's pain before pleasure, in other words, your brain is always focused on the pain. You, not you, but your brain is focused on. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Your brain is always looking out for the threats
Mm-hmm.
before it goes after the reward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's absolutely effortless, completely effortless to think about something that's threatening to you and feel good about knowing about it than it is to think about something that could benefit you, that can serve you.
Mm.
I look at things in terms of your brain as a survival engine, and it's built for survival and it's
Yeah.
built to keep you alive. So that is, and it does it in one of two ways. Your brain keeps you, your body, and you alive either in the survival state of protection or the survival state of growth.
Brilliant.
And now the protection's easy.
And then would you say after protection, next comes is the comfort, i.e., that it's still more, it would always go for the comforting choice over the hard working choice?
Comfort is for me is a form of protection. But even then, it's way in the way in which you look at it.
Mm.
You know, because obviously there is a need to protect yourself if a mad axeman is coming at you.
Yeah.
You know, if he's got the big axe, it's dripping blood, and he's about to bust you in your head,
Mm.
you need to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But our brain is not willing. You got to get that. It's not willing to tell the difference between a clear and present danger, and this word is so important, the perception of a clear and present danger.
Mm-hmm.
So if your brain just perceives that there's danger, it goes into protection,
Mm-hmm.
fight, flight, freeze.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and because it's not willing to take the chance, it's very easy for you to stay there. So a mad accident's coming towards you, you got to protect yourself. Your wife tells you you're an idiot, you don't need to protect yourself.
Mm.
You've just been laid off. You don't need to protect yourself. It's really difficult. I've just been laid off. What's going to happen? You don't need to protect. You're not going to die in that moment. Your brain is melodramatic. So
Mm.
it just goes, you're going to die. Hold on. Don't let go. You're going to die. That's how your brain goes. But you, the human, you get the opportunity to choose.
Mm-hmm.
You get the opportunity to direct your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Focal concentration. If it isn't a clear and present danger, then the thing that you got to start asking yourself is, if I'm not going to die, what do I need to do? How can I grow? How can I learn from this? That is how you begin the process of the art of self-discovery, about discovering yourself. It's what do I need to do? What can I learn from this? What most people do is, it's not my fault. I don't know what to do. But you're on that pathway. You've got to get off that pathway. It's effortful. It's full of effort to start asking questions that will cause you to grow. And like you said, in all circumstances, anything that happens to you, there's a piece of you. It's called inner control. You always have control of you. Yeah? Your attitude. Can I control your attitude?
No.
Some people actually think that you can. Can I? You know what? When I was teaching, one thing I used to say to kids is, no one can, no one can force you to not work. No one. Only you get to do that. You might say, well, it's the other person because he's laughing.
Mm.
But if him laughing is stopping you from working, then he's in charge of you. He's in control of you.
Mm.
But no one's in control of you, the way you feel, the way you think. That's your job.
Mm.
It's your realm.
Mm.
It's an inner world. And the art of self discovery gives you an opportunity to connect with that inner world.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely amazing. Amazing, my brother. You are truly awesome, and that's why you are the coach's coach. So we talked to.
I like that. The coach's
You're the
coach.
coach's coach. I gave you that title. You're the coach. You're the coach's coach.
I'll let that in.
You know what I
I'll
mean?
let
Yeah,
that in.
that's a title, man. That's a title. I'm the coach's coach. He's the coach's coach. You know what I mean? He's a coach that coached the coach. You know what I mean? You know and that's how you'll always be remembered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's that guy? That's Ace Good Talk. He's a urban motivational legend. And who's that? Oh, that's his coach. Oh, you the coach. You know, you got Floyd Mayweather,
Yeah.
and then you got his dad who coaches him. You know,
Yes,
I like
yes.
that. You know, like so. Yeah, we run it like that. You know,
Mm.
you're the coach's coach. So I know we spoke a lot about peak performance,
Yes.
but the coaching that you do is not just tunneled into peak performance. You do all types of coaching.
Yeah.
So you just want to tell the listeners about the other areas that you specialize in.
So I work with footballers
Yep.
right now. So I'm looking to work with more sports
Mhm.
guys because uh, I've seen the way footballers go about their craft,
Yeah,
and at times I have to say it's not pretty.
definitely.
I just heard a stat on the radio that I think 17% of players right now are getting depressed
Yeah,
because they're not playing.
yeah,
Men, and 22% of women are getting depressed because they can't play football right now.
yeah,
And so I help them to deal with that
yeah,
so that they're ready when the season starts again, they're ready.
yeah, yeah.
I work with small businesses.
Mhm,
I work with schools in education.
mhm,
I'm about to set up a course. In fact, I've got to do some work tonight because I need to speak to the woman tomorrow.
mhm.
Um, a course to help a group of teachers
Yeah.
to get into the space where they can handle the children
Mhm,
much more effectively.
mhm,
Small businesses. Um, there isn't an area
mm.
that I don't coach in.
Yeah,
If somebody comes to me, I say, well, let's sit down and have a talk.
yeah,
We'll have a freedom session, and in that session, they get some release from what they're dealing with, and they can make a choice if they want to coach with me or not.
yeah.
You know, I've had like one guy came to me, and this is when I first started actually. So I knew these ideas,
Mhm,
but I hadn't actually implemented them. He said, I I got um, a woman pregnant, and I don't want to know anymore. And why do you want to know? Because she's out of order, and she's this and she's that. So he was all about her. And so I said, okay, so what about you? And so we just broke it down, and they had an awful relationship. And I helped them to get to a place where they have a much more workable relationship for the sake of the child,
mm.
yes, but more selfishly for their own sake, for his sake.
Mm.
If you've got an awful relationship with the mother of your child,
Mm.
you've got an awful relationship with yourself.
Mm.
And no matter how much, yeah, but she this and I can't take this and that you do, it's not going to change the relationship that you have with yourself about the relationship you have with her. So I help to fix themselves, focus on what they need to do. Instead of talking about what they can't do, talk about what they can do. Control what you can. In fact, control is probably too much of a strong word, master.
Mhm.
Yeah, master what you can master, and then you're in a position to assist, to help, to listen to what that hurting woman has to say, and find a way to move the thing on.
Absolutely.
So there's no area.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I know when you referred to footballers, you talked about them being depressed
Mm.
because they can't play. And I don't know if it's something you do, but also performing in terms of their mental performance when they're on their pitch.
Ooh, that's my speciality. I help players who can't make the first team make the first team.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's peak performance.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
I say, well, what do you do when you get on the pitch? How's it
Yeah,
go?
yeah,
And every single one of them, every single player, they're in their head,
yeah.
and they are in the
In the game.
condemnation. They're in condemnation.
Hmm.
So when you're playing in condemnation, if you miss, you're an idiot. Well, that's not going to help you.
Mm,
That's not encouraging yourself.
mm,
So I get them to recognize if you miss, you just missed.
mm,
Go
mm.
again.
Yeah, yeah,
And now you have. So whenever anybody goes into performance, they got to have a strategy. And most players don't actually have a strategy.
mm.
They just go out there and just they've got a kind of a
Just
strategy.
play.
It hasn't been fully thought through. They don't realize how much mastery they have of this.
Yes.
And if you master this, you master that.
The game before you've even got on the pitch.
Exactly.
Before you got a bit, and
Exactly.
obviously me and I know yourself coming from a boxing background,
Yeah.
it's the same
Yeah.
when you go into a fight. 9 times out of 10, you've already beat that guy
Yeah.
before you got in the ring.
I
And you're so I've given this analogy so many times all week. I feel like a stuck record, but the confidence coming from a boxing background and then bringing all of that bravado that I love into this motivational world. For me, even when I won the World Motivational Speaker Competition, I said the day when I made a video, I had a cameraman film myself. I said I'm going to win today.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I was arrogant. It was because I spent 4 months training, just like a boxer would practice for a fight.
Yeah.
So I was confident in my performance. I had already won in my head. And believe it or not, I had played out the whole day, including the win, over and over again. So it's you go in with a different
visualization.
Yeah, and
Peak performers visualize in the same way that they train physically.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, and that just takes the physical performance to another level. You know,
visualization is crucial. We do it all the time, by the way.
And mindset as well. Being in the right frame of mind.
Well, the visualization will
create that space. That's correct.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
But again, I just want to say, because we do it all the time, we visualize all the time.
Yeah.
But typically, it's unconscious.
Yeah.
We're not aware of it.
Yeah.
So when you say, "Oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen," that's a visualization.
Yeah.
You see it, and you feel it.
Oh my God! Do you know? I was just sitting in my head thinking the whole time we've been talking about thought. I'm thinking in my head, because it's your show, it's your time. I think we haven't really associated or connected the thought to the feeling.
Mind-body connection.
Because once you have that thought and that thought stirs up that feeling and that feeling connects to the brain, it now just takes on a whole nother
action
life of its own.
You don't do anything without feeling.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're born feeling. You're not born thinking. You're born feeling. If you say, "I want a cup of tea," guess what? If you don't feel like getting up, you're not going to get it. You have to move. You have to. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really important. And really powerful that we recognize the mind-body connection. Procrastination is the mind-body connection. Yeah. Moving forwards, the mind-body connection. When you connect your body and your mind, when they're in alignment, that is when you take your most effective action.
Definitely.
Now, here's the key. This is really important as well. When people have the mind and body as one, it can be negative as well as positive. When you're in the car and you're in road rage, and you think, "I'm going to get out there and I'm going to knock his block off," or words to that effect.
Yeah. And you got the feeling as well as the thought.
You feel it. Boof.
Yeah.
You're ready to go to jail or to the cemetery.
But this turned that on its head, because that was a.
Sorry.
Yeah,
what I wanted to say was that tends to be unconscious. But when you visualize is self-directed.
There you,
You're
there you
making it
well there
conscious.
you go. There you go. So we could turn that on its head
Yeah.
and put a positive spin on that,
Yes.
i.e., you could visualize something positive that you
Mm.
wanted in terms of an
Yeah.
outcome,
Mm.
create that feeling inside you, and connect those two together.
Road rage, for example. I keep getting angry. Okay, me, I'll take you through it right now. Let's sit down. You tell me what happens. Well, I
Mm.
get in the car, and then the guy cuts me up, and then I feel angry, and I get out of the car, and I say, okay, so get in the car and do it. So I get them to go right through it, and I'll say, stop. Okay, where? Tell me where the anger is. Get in the car. What did he say to you? He gave me the finger. And is that when you got angry? No. When did he get angry? When he first looked at me. Okay. So what did you say to yourself?
There you go. There
What
you
did
go.
you say to? Because
There
he
you
just
go.
looked at you. What did you say?
There you go.
Well, I said, who's he looking at?
There you
And
go.
how did you feel when you said that?
There you go.
Oh, oh, my stomach was. And if you were to level that feeling, let's say 0 is calm, placid, cool, and 10 is I'm about to bust a blood vessel in here. Where were you? About an 8. Okay, and I said, okay, so what would make it a 9 if he really bugged at me? Okay, so what would make it a 7 if he looked at me a bit less? Okay, so that's him. I'm saying what would make you, what would you have to do to make it a 7? Well, maybe I could. And now he's on that pathway in the snow, and now he's actually stopped and he's gone to a new
Look at the pathway.
place.
Yeah.
Maybe um, I could just relax, maybe.
Or stop telling yourself a story. Because that's all going on in your head. Your
I,
brain is telling yourself a
I,
story.
I always invite them
Hmm.
to have a look for themselves.
Yeah.
I, I may say once in a while, can I offer you something?
Yeah.
And then I'll say,
Mm.
well, stop telling yourself a story.
Mm.
But me, I want them to do the work. They've got to do the heavy lifting because
Mm.
it's their body.
Mm.
It's their self-discovery. It's their art. They're about to create something. And it's a beautiful ace. There's nothing that beats that seeing somebody in that when they get that aha moment,
Yeah.
when the lights go on and they think, oh, and they really see themselves
Mm.
and how they've been behaving, and they see it as a revelation as opposed to a condemnation,
Mm. Mm.
because then they're free.
Definitely.
And then the next time they're in the car and the man is giving them all the noises and the fingers and everything, they just drive on. Mervyn, yeah, you never know what happened today. When the first time a guy called me, because I've done this with several guys, this thing about relationship with their
Hmm.
baby mother and the child. The first time the
May
guy,
I ask, have you done it the other way around?
baby mother, sadly, no.
Because I don't mean to cut you.
I did have two women who nearly did, but they didn't in the
I
end.
don't mean to cut you, but this is a whole nother show now. Do
Yes,
you know we might have
yes.
to? Do you know what? That's actually I don't know because we need to tap down to this
Going to do a
because
relationship
no,
one.
no, yeah, specifically it's a whole nother show. Well, a
Conflicting
bit more than that
relationships.
because you got conflict relationships.
Mm,
Perfect. You've got conflicted relationships, but you've also got a completely different way of perceiving things,
mm,
masculine and feminine.
mm,
No right, no wrong, just chalk and cheese. And when you're always addressing something from one particular angle, you do cover one aspect, but there is a whole nother aspect going on
mm.
that I think that needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother show,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
in terms
yes.
of the dynamics going on there.
Dynamics.
Because I got it's a subject that I want to tackle, but we need to tackle it in a way that really opens up both parties' minds to
Mm,
the roles they both play.
yeah.
Because I think that there is roles that both. So the man, it's okay him being aware of the role he plays in that scenario, but if the other party is ain't playing ball, it's
Mm,
one-sided.
mm,
So both parties have to be equally aware of what they do. It's why I
mm,
suggest that we need even in our community more arbitration,
mm.
you know,
Um,
and more. I'll be honest with you, and this isn't a plug,
mm,
but more people like yourself, my brother, because I've spent a long time in the community and seeing where a lot of the families do break down,
mm,
relationships break down, what leads to so many single parent families. And one of the things I've I've always championed is that we need more arbitration,
Mm, mm,
more people like yourself that when those families break down, both parties can get in contact and there's someone mutual with a better understanding who can bridge the gaps and work on the individual needs. So that's something
mm,
that we need to look at as
mm,
well, you
mm.
know. But I'm really conscious that we're running out of time.
Mhm.
We've only got a few minutes left. My brother, I want to thank you for coming on the Ace Got Talk show. You've been an
Thank you. My pleasure.
absolutely
My
amazing
pleasure.
guest. One thought that comes to mind, and I'm going to ask you to summarize for me and just give a little golden nugget before we go.
Mm,
Ace Got Talk, a thought that comes to mind is no man is free who is not master of himself.
mm.
Ace Got Talk, I'll say it again. No man is free who is not master of himself. My brother, you've been an absolutely amazing guest. Leave the listeners with just one more gem, and then tell them where they can find you.
Okay. So hello, listeners. How you doing? Um, in terms of a gem, something that you can take and act on right now. So it's called the thoughts, feeling, connection. So most people don't realize that their thoughts and feelings are inextricably linked, as I've already said. There's a way in which you can begin to recognize the relationship, first of all. That's the first thing, is to get that there's a relationship between them and how it works. So, as a quick experiment, um, close your eyes and think of something that happened in the past that wasn't very good. You didn't enjoy it, it didn't work out. Just think about it for a second. Don't think about it for too long. And I want you to write down one word that for you describes how it was. How was that experience? What did you feel? One word that describes the experience. And now I want you to do the same thing again for a positive thing, something that's positive that happened in the past. And so if you write down one word for that as well, so that you can just get an experience of it. I'm doing it really quickly. So you should have two words. And I guarantee you, at the very best, those words are contrasting. And at worst, there are opposite ends. The way in which you now deal with how you feel and how you think can be distilled down to those two words. So if the first word is grateful, then the second word could well be upset. So what most people don't realize is that they believe it's the words, sorry, the experience that causes them to feel that way. But it's the words they're using about the experience. The reason I say that is because the experience is no longer there. It's gone. You're not in the same place, not in the same time, not in the same space. So what's creating that feeling are the words that you're using. So if you can begin to just recognize and feel that, you get an opportunity to free yourself from your past. When you recognize that you and the thoughts that you have cause your past to be the way it is, you give yourself an opportunity, a smidgen, a slither of a crack of a door that's been opened to freedom. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, here's how you get in contact with me. Two ways. One, Mervyn at yourfreedomcoach.co.uk. That's Mervyn at yourfreedomcoach.co.uk. Or call me directly. I offer a freedom session. So it's coaching session and it's for free. And inside that coaching session, I guarantee you some freedom. I don't care what it is you're dealing with. Call me 0796 140 6240. Say it again, 0796 140 6240. Hurry up, book your session, get you some freedom. You deserve it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we'll post the links at the bottom of the page where you can find Mervyn. Once again, you've been an amazing audience. Do remember to follow us on all the usual social medias. That's YouTube, A Scott Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the MediaNet Live TV channel on YouTube. Also, you can find me on Instagram, A Scott Talk. You can also find our Philly show, our AHFI We show on Instagram, and also do follow us at MediaNet Net Live TV on the Instagram as well. Next week, by popular demand, we had the Dr. Jude Joseph on our show a few weeks ago, and he was here with Amanda from the Nasha African Cultural Center talking about practical solutions. So many listeners sent us messages into that show saying the show was too short and that you wanted to hear more. So the good doctors agreed to join us next week, where he's just gonna come. He's really gassed up because he's got a well, I'll let him tell you next week, but we're doing a £1 million challenge at the moment. We want 1 million people to donate £1 each. So, but the brother's going to be here next week to tell us all about that and practical solutions in our community. Likewise, if you liked what you heard from Mervyn and you would like to see him back on our Theory Show to answer more of your questions, drop us a line, drop us a text, and we'll be sure to respond. Until the next time, thank you very much. Have a good evening. God bless and stay tuned.